Go. Let me start by facilitating the introductions, and I will take this opportunity to introduce commissioners from the Zimbabwe Human Rights Commission. We have the chairperson of the Zimbabwe Human Rights Commission, Commissioner Elasto Hilarious Mugwadi. Then to his left is the Deputy Chairperson, Commissioner Ellen Stolle. Next to her is Commissioner Joseph Kurebwa. And on the extreme left, we have Commissioner Kwanele Jirira. And to my immediate left, we have Commissioner Sheila Matindike. Okay. My name is Wengesai Eric Mkutiri, the Acting Executive Secretary in the Zimbabwe Human Rights Commission. So by way of getting us started, I will share just a few highlights related to this project. Then hand over to the chairperson of the Zimbabwe Human Rights Commission. The Commission has commenced implementation of the National Inquiry Project, and for information about what a National Inquiry is, we have already provided documents that explain this project. I can confirm that our internal processes, like our planning and training processes, have been done. We have also commissioned a technical research paper, which is currently work in progress, to establish the legal framework guiding access to documentation and other related issues that may be of use to improving access to documentation in Zimbabwe. We have also been doing, since last week, consultative meetings. We have consulted with relevant ministries. We have also hosted on Tuesday last week two national consultative, on Tuesday last week, the Harare meeting that mobilized the stakeholders from 5 provinces in the northern region. And then on Thursday, we had another meeting in Bulawayo that mobilized stakeholders from the southern region. So that is our process of consulting at the national level. We are now going into the provinces, where we will go to each of the 10 provinces to hold provincial consultative meetings in preparation for the evidence gathering through public hearing sessions. These will be done in selected districts, and we will cover approximately 3 districts per province. That makes it 30 districts to be covered countrywide. This process for evidence gathering is going to commence in May of 2019 and end in September. We are also inviting written submissions on issues related to access to documentation, as the chairperson will communicate. The final product, or the final report with key findings and recommendations of the ZHRC is going to be presented to government and to the Parliament of Zimbabwe by December of 2019. Beyond production of the report, we are also going to facilitate development of stakeholder action plans. It will depend on what kind of recommendations are coming out of the report. Then stakeholder action plans are going to be developed and agreed, and of course, as a commission, we'll be interested to follow up and monitor the implementation of the recommendations that will be coming from the National Inquiry Report. We know that you colleagues as media are an important stakeholder to this, and therefore we will count on your support to communicate messages around this initiative by the Zimbabwe Human Rights Commission, and we are going to keep media informed by way of information packs, regular press statements, as well as public meetings to which media will be invited. So those are basically the highlights related to this project. And let me take this opportunity to invite the chairperson of the commission to address us.
Thank you very much. The director of the occasion. Once again, good morning, members of the media fraternity here with us, fellow commissioners, the Secretariat of the Zimbabwe Human Rights Commission, and welcome to this launch of the national inquiry which the Commission is embarking on. Before I commence my press statement, I wish to advise that our invited guest was going to be with us this morning, the Honorable Minister of Home Affairs, Ken Matema, is sending an apology. He has had other pressing needs, and therefore he will not be with us this morning. Having said that, I also wish on behalf of the Commission, my fellow commissioners here at the Secretariat, and on my personal behalf, to extend our sincere and heartfelt condolences to the families of those whose lives were tragically taken by the devastation of Cyclone Idai. May the souls of the departed rest in eternal peace. You are all aware that there are serious human rights implications in the horrendous natural disaster which has impacted the rights to life, food, property, shelter, education, and health, amongst others. We are therefore, as a commission and watchdog over human rights issues, exhorting fellow Zimbabweans to consider donating materially and financially to make the lives of the survivors a little bit comfortable as they trudge along the journey of rebuilding destroyed homes which were taken away by the cyclone floods and probably landed in the Indian Ocean. We also would like to thank those who have already reacted by donating towards this cause for the sustenance of grieving souls and hate lives. I now wish, ladies and gentlemen, to go to the statement which is basically launching our national inquiry. The Zimbabwe Human Rights Commission, as you all are aware, is the national human rights institution for the Republic of Zimbabwe, responsible for the promotion, protection, and enforcement of human rights in accordance with the sections 233 and 243 of the Constitution of Zimbabwe. In its work since operationalization in June 2014, the Zimbabwe Human Rights Commission has determined and concluded that problems associated with access to national documentation are some of the major human rights challenges confronting our country. Based on stakeholder engagement meetings, community outreaches, complaints received from members of the public and those affected, and our monitoring and assessment missions undertaken by the Commission over the past 4 years of our operation, it has become apparent that these problems have affected and continue to affect a significant number of our people who feel shortchanged on full enjoyment of the human rights they have been guaranteed in the national constitution. In accordance with the constitutional mandate, therefore, of the Commission, we have seen it necessary that we should inform relevant government ministries and stakeholders that we are proceeding to conduct hearings and are inviting written and oral submissions from all affected and interested members of the public. These hearings will be conducted in all the 10 provinces throughout the country, commencing in Harare in the first week of May 2019. The terms, ladies and gentlemen, of reference of our national inquiry on access to national documentation are the following. 1, to inquire into the challenges of accessing identity documents, i.e. birth certificates, national identity cards, passports, and the death certificates, amongst others, and the extent to which they affect people in Zimbabwe in general. 2, to inquire into and determine the root causes and factors which prevent easy access to identity documents mentioned above. 3, to assess the impact of lack of documentation by individuals and groups on the enjoyment of human rights guaranteed under the Constitution, national laws, and the relevant international and regional treaties and instruments. 4, to review the effectiveness of the existing laws, institutions, policies, and procedures, and analyze attitudes and beliefs relating to accessing identity documents in Zimbabwe. And 5, to report, recommend, and follow up on steps to be taken in addressing barriers identified in accessing identity documents. The Commission, ladies and gentlemen, hopes the national inquiry will lead to positive recommendations that will enable many more citizens to access the necessary documentation which they require. In the first instance, all members of the public and relevant stakeholders are being invited to make written submissions to the Secretary of the National Inquiry by 31st July 2019. Written submissions should detail the issues of concern in accordance in accessing the documents, the specific national document that was sought, and the location of the office where the document was initially sought. The Commission will also accept expert reports, videos, audios, and other forms of evidence regarding access to documentation in this jurisdiction and beyond. Anyone, ladies and gentlemen, who wishes to make an oral submission to the inquiry is also requested to contact the National Inquiry Secretary before the date of the public hearing meeting of interest to the individuals. All dates of the public hearings will be published and confirmed for each respective province in due course. We are not the only country or institution worldwide to carry out such an inquiry. There have been many other inquiries elsewhere, including in Australia, Kenya, I think it is Ghana, and other countries too. The reason for carrying out a national inquiry is that we will have realized that there are serious implications on enjoyment of human rights, and therefore we need to look into it in a broad sense and address the issues concerned. Having said that, ladies and gentlemen, I wish to advise that all written submissions should be sent to the Zimbabwe Human Rights Commission offices here in Harare. We are situated at 144 Samora Machel Avenue. Our postal address being Private Bag, 7759 Causeway, Harare. And in Bulawayo, we are found at number 49 Joshua Nyongolo Konkomo Street, between 3rd and 4th Avenues. Our website, which is well known to you, is www.zhrc.org.zw. And of course, our email is nationalinquiry@zhrc.org.zw. Our telephone numbers in Harare here, 0242 703617, 700-705, or 700-710. Our Bulawayo office contact telephone number is 0292 264 170 up to 3. We also have mobile hotline numbers, which are 0771 838 654, 0771 838 655, and 0771 838 656. Finally, we have a toll-free number, 08080 Any questions, ladies and gentlemen, about the national inquiry should therefore be directed to the National Inquiry Coordinator and sent through to us via the above contact details. We are going to entertain a few questions, if any, from members of the media fraternity and any others who may be with us here. Thank you very much for coming and for listening.
Okay, thank you very much, Chairperson. Let me acknowledge the presence of Commissioner Petunia Siriseri, who has just joined us to my immediate left here. Welcome, Commissioner. Any questions related to the National Inquiry Project and what has been presented? Thank you. You identify yourself and ask the question.
My name is Njabulo Ncube. I'm a freelance journalist. I want to find out if, how much has been budgeted for this massive national inquiry.
We'll take a few more questions if there are any, then we'll answer.
Okay, my name is Chris Moyo. I'm a freelance journalist. I want to find out if there has been any study to establish maybe the estimated number of people in Zimbabwe that have no identification particulars.
Thank you. Another?
Thank you very much. My name is Florence Zima from Star FM. I would want to know, Kuti, what are you doing as a commission to help those that have been attacked by Cyclone Idai concerning the issue of birth certificates? Thank you.
I take it those are the questions for now.
Yes, thank you very much. In respect of the budget, the first question by Njabulu here, we have courtesy of a development partner in amount upwards of $800,000, which has been budgeted for this exercise. There will be other few releases, of course, from Treasury, which we cannot quantify until they've been received. But we believe all in all, it will probably run up to about $1 million for the whole exercise to be completed. The numbers of those affected is more in operational question, and I believe the Secretariat here, we have been receiving the complaints, would probably favor us with figures if they manage to bring any. On the issue of Cyclone Idai, yes, you know our role is that of watchdogs. And what we do is in watching out, we call out to government once observations have been made for government to act on the violations that we would have observed. We have not, as an institution, had an opportunity to get out there, considering the reports that we have been receiving and watching over radio, TV, and other media, that the roads are almost impassable. Especially if you go by, if you don't fly, and we can't fly because we don't have the resources. So we are monitoring through the press and currently documenting. But as you heard from my opening remarks, we are encouraging all those who are able to assist in any way possible by offering donations. Many people have been rendered homeless, and we are talking of people who probably have also passed on and cannot be properly identified. And we are saying, in terms of our laws here, anyone who would have died within the borders of this country and under such circumstances will be presumed to be Zimbabwean. And we encourage the authorities to give them decent burials. I don't know whether my colleagues have anything to add in response to this question.
Okay, thank you very much, Chairperson. And with regard to the numbers, it's actually part of our work in this project to address that grey area. We are concerned that there are no nationally agreed statistics on access to documentation. We have figures or reports or documents that show that as little as 32% of Zimbabweans are documented, but we have other figures that are showing 36, 45, up to 74%, at least the document that we have accessed so far. So there are others whose findings seem to point that 74% of Zimbabweans are documented, whilst others are saying it's as little as 32%. So already that gives relevance to this inquiry, to begin to address that grey area, so that there should never be any confusion around national statistics on such key information. So by the end of this project, we hope to have answered that question. Thank you.
Yeah, just to add to that response, even if we don't have readily available statistics, in terms of numbers, But the complaints that were being received in relation to documentation were so significant as to influence the Commission to isolate it and prioritize it as a national issue. That's why we are carrying out this national inquiry. We have had other complaints in relation to people who have served government, other institutions for donkey years. They retire, they don't get, their pensions at all and on time at times. And we have been receiving so many complaints, some of which have been addressed, but we didn't think this was so significant as to warrant an inquiry. We thought the issue of national documentation was at the top of all issues that were impacting on human rights. As you know, if you don't have a national document, you are Zimbabwean, you are being rendered stateless. And when you are stateless, you know what it means. You may be thrown out of your own country of birth by immigration authorities. So this is serious enough that we are now on the move to ensure all the loopholes are plugged.
Also, just to add that the issue of documentation also unlocks the access to other rights, because when you have a national document, you can access your right to health. When you go to a hospital or a clinic, the first thing that is required is your identification. Who are you? How old are you? And sometimes, where do you come from? And for educational purposes, when you want to register a child in school, where is the birth certificate? When was she born, or when was he born, so that they can place the child in school? So, and also for a birth certificate, you need an identity document. You also will be able to access a national travel document, like a passport, and also your citizenship also depends on the processing of all these other documents. So when you look at it, you see that without an identity document, you cannot access other rights. It really unlocks so many other rights that a citizen has. You want to purchase a house, your identity document is required. You want to seek employment, your identity document is required. So for the Zimbabwe Human Rights Commission, it was felt that it's very important for us to start right from the bottom, so that the citizens of this country can be able to access all the other rights that are due to them.
Okay, thank you. More questions?
My name is Lucy Yassini. I'm a freelance journalist. I've got two questions. As you receive the complaints, what are the reasons that the complainants have been given as far as failure to accessing documents is concerned? And then the second one, looking through the complaints that you receive as a commission, where are they concentrated? I'm sure it's not all areas that have got high numbers. Where is the concentration and why?
What is the role of the Office of the Registrar General in this inquiry? Because from the legal that you are hearing, most of the complaints emanate from those offices. And right now we hear there is a shortage of paper to process IDs and passports. So we want to find out what's the role of that office into this.
My name is Elian Tali. I'm a freelance journalist. we have Zimbabweans living outside the country. Will you include them in your consultations? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We will attend to those set of questions.
Yes, thank you for the questions. The first one, reasons for failure to access documents. Many, but the first and the foremost reason being given is people would have failed to comply with the requirements of the Registrar General's office, which is the responsibility of issuing out these documents. If it's a birth certificate, obviously they would need proof of parentage and that you were born here in Zimbabwe. If you were born in a hut in the kitchen out there in Shimanimani, you don't have, a record of birth from a hospital, they would then want you to have witnesses. And in the majority of cases, you'll find those who are of single parents are normally facing these problems. And there's also the issue of, the distances people are required to travel to obtain these documents. The registry offices are not everywhere, although they are in every district, but some of our districts are so big, and people are required to travel upwards of even 50 kilometers, go to the office that registers. Find people who are around the Beshnaf bridge area in Bowera are required to travel more than 120 kilometers to go to Murambinda to go and obtain a birth certificate. That is pretty tough for the ordinary people out there. And there are times also when the registration is delayed. If it is delayed, the requirements become even more stringent. You would need more evidence, maybe letters or even the presence of the headman of the area, that you were actually born in their area. So, the reasons are varied, but there are many. The concentration where the majority of the problems being experienced. I think if you look at Manicaland itself, maybe it's because of the closeness to Mozambique, in the relatedness of the people. People in Espungabera would normally, either consider themselves as Zimbabweans or as Mozambicans. The border is not so well defined that one can tell whether, this is where Zimbabwe begins and this is where Mozambique begins. So you would find Manicaland has a huge number of these problems, followed by the Matabeleland provinces. The Matabeleland provinces, mainly because of economic hardships here, parents, especially fathers, are used to going across the Limpopo to seek employment. And when it's just the mother left on her own, so many questions are asked of them. And again, the issue of significance of these documents. Some people are not aware of the significance of holding, of a national document, like a birth certificate, because of their remoteness from urban centers where civilization started. And so they would need to be educated. And Matabeleland provinces are followed by Mash Central. I would need to refresh my memory on the records. But again, the Secretariat would be able to provide the details. And the final question on whether diasporans are going to be involved. Yes, you know, when I said we were calling for evidence from within the jurisdiction and beyond, I was actually referring to our people who are out of Zimbabwe. Any types of problems they are facing, we would need to be advised so that when we finally compile our findings, they will not be excluded. They are rights holders. They are entitled to these national documents. I am happy to say the announcement by government that they are creating facilities to ensure that those people outside the country will access national documentation in those countries. Is a positive move. And we wish it had come many, many years back. We would not be facing all these complaints that we are receiving, and our people would also not be confronting these problems. I hope I've sufficiently answered the questions.
Okay. I can confirm that the Registrar General's office has been consulted with regards to this project. And in fact, when I mentioned about training of commissioners and staff, the trainers included different facilitators, but we had the resource persons from the RG's office who came to explain how the system works and clarify a number of issues. When we had the Harare and the Bulawayo consultative meetings, the RG's office was represented, and those officials were attending to questions relating to these challenges. So we have the RG's office on board, and they have embraced the project, and we are going to work with them all the way in terms of identifying issues. But at the end of the day, this project will only be successful if we are coming up with recommendations and action plans that offer solutions to the challenges. So that's confirmation that the RG's office, they have a role, and they are also collaborating with the Zimbabwe Human Rights Commission. In terms of the areas, the chairperson had referred that the Secretariat will also furnish. I think he has covered most of the ground, but just to say, generally the rural communities are more affected than the urban. But for the urban, we have peri-urban areas where we often get complaints in numbers. I'll give the example of Epworth. We received complaints, and we have worked with the RG's office to deal with those individual cases, and even the numerous cases that were coming from around the country. And then we then felt that it was not cost effective to be investigating case by case, instead of finding out the root cause issues, the systemic issues, and then address that. So, thank you, I think. So.
Yeah, I think on the specific question you asked on the problems the Registrar General's office is facing in procuring the special paper required especially for printing the passport. We have also heard about the problem, but we cannot doubt the sincerity of that office. I think it's all being occasioned by the shortage of foreign currency, because if the paper is coming from outside the country, obviously foreign currency is required, and there are so many demands on the scarce foreign currency in this country. So they would obviously be affected, and we are hoping and praying that they will probably come up with some other arrangements where this paper can be obtained or can be obtainable locally, so that people would not have to suffer long periods of waiting. When someone needs a passport, there are many reasons: to answer to emergencies, a family relative having passed on, say in South Africa, you can't go and bury them unless you have got a passport. And so the need of addressing these problems as a matter of extreme urgency cannot be overemphasized.
Okay, thank you very much. Do we still have any? Okay. I think there are no more questions. So with that,
thank you very much, all of you, for coming. I think it behoves me on behalf of the Commission here to encourage you. You are our partners. There is no way this project can succeed unless it is given all the necessary publicity which it deserves. If people out there are going to hear about our presence in any particular province or district, it will be through your efforts. And we encourage you and ask you to continue to support us in this exercise. Our intentions are well meant. We need to be excelling in everything as a country. We are talking of the policy statement by the President of a middle income country by 2030. We will not be able to get there until all our systems are agog. We have it right in every area of our human endeavor, and especially in service delivery. So we need to thank you. Where you have queries, we are at your disposal. We lament the fact that we have not yet been able to decentralize as we should have by now to all provinces. We are only found here in Harare and in Bulawayo, serving all the 10 provinces, 5 apiece by the 2 offices. We hope that you will have enough resources so that when we invite you to cover, our national inquiry, the next one, which we anticipate to embark on soon after this one, we will be advising you that you can approach our offices in the Midlands, in Matabeleland North, in Lupane, in Mutare, as the case may be for Manicaland. And we hope government, which is well-meaning when they give us a budget each year, will also be looking at our requests in this regard favorably. I wish to thank my fellow commissioners here for coming to support. As you well know, it's only the chair and the deputy who are full-time in office. The other commissioners are part-time, so they've had to leave all their other chores, businesses for the day to come and be with us here. The Secretariat for preparing this launch, and of course your good selves for being here with us. I wish you all a pleasant day. I thank you.
Okay, so thank you so much. Teas will be saved as we go out. I think we can help ourselves. Thank you.